Digital series which provides fans with a day in the life of some of the top athletes across all sports as they work under our new social distancing world. You can find daily shows on the NBC Sports YouTube channel, NBCSports.com, and the NBC Sports app. So, the draft is coming. It's going to happen. There's no point arguing against it. It's going to happen. And the NFL is realizing as it goes, Peter, that there are going to be some very real impediments to making the draft happen the way that they would like it to. On Tuesday, the NFL announced during the conference call with reporters after the league meeting by conference call that they would allow small war rooms of up to 10, and there had to be proper practices, social distancing and hand cleaning, etc. And then I think somebody realized, wait a minute, in most states now, there's a stay-at-home order, and there's no exception for NFL teams need to get together to draft their players. And if you have only one state where the NFL does business that says, sorry, NFL, we're not going to give you a dispensation from the stay-at-home order, you have a competitive imbalance. And the NFL sent a memo yesterday, it was first obtained by ESPN.com, explaining that there's going to be one of two approaches. One, teams will be allowed to assemble at their facilities up to 10 with appropriate social distancing measures. Or two, everybody's going to have to be at home. And Peter, I think, frankly, that memo is the first step at saving some face because they got over their skis on Tuesday with this up to 10 people can get together. There's no way they're going to get permission from every state where there's a stay-at-home order to allow their employees to gather at the team facilities. This is not an essential function. It's essential to the NFL teams. It's not essential from the perspective of what is and isn't allowed when it comes to staying at home versus leaving your home.
Mike, I don't see how Alan Sills and anybody who, because basically what they would have to do, what the NFL would have to do is, for instance, the New York Giants and New York Jets who do business in New Jersey, they would have to make some sort of appeal to the governor of New Jersey or to somebody in state government to say, we would like to open our building to 10 people or less for a 3-day period in order to hold the draft. Now, just multiply that, Mike, times 31 or times 32, excuse me. And basically, what if Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, tells the Rams, you can't go into your building in Thousand Oaks, tells the Chargers they can't go into their building in Orange County, and the 49ers, you can't go into your building in Santa Clara. So Roger Goodell has made it clear that if one team doesn't have the advantage of working in its facilities, then no teams will. And the NFL, like, my feeling is right now, they should just start to plan on having these things in people's homes. And let's just say right now that even with the stay-at-home order, would the NFL or would the public, fathers, mothers in these states, would they allow gatherings of 10 in private homes? That's what I don't know yet. That's what is unclear. But, Mike, we're also looking, Kevin Demoff of the Rams, I was on a call with him yesterday. And one of the things he's talking about is, we're in this brave new world with all this video conferencing. We got to be sure that we've got good encryption with all of this video conferencing, because obviously if the Rams have a bunch of people on a video conference on the night of the draft, they don't want the 49ers being able to say, hey, let's listen into what the Rams can do. And look, I know nothing about the security of these things. But if NFL teams are worried about the encryption of this is another little factor why Michael Bidwill, the owner of the Cardinals, told me the other day, hey, our IT guys have been our MVPs this offseason. And so the IT guys are going to have to do even more in the next 3 weeks to make sure that nobody is spying on the video conferences during the draft. So there are 900 little things like that NFL teams have to take care of before the draft.
And, I don't want to cast aspersion or throw stones, but again, this is the challenge of our lifetimes, and it's incumbent on all of us to do what is right and responsible. The fact that as of Tuesday, there was a blind spot for the NFL as it relates to the many stay-at-home orders and the obvious conflict between the stay-at-home orders and the desire to assemble in groups of up to 10 for the draft. It tells me that somebody isn't thinking these things through, Peter, the way that they should. And if they're not thinking things through on something that is obvious that we know about, what else are they not thinking through the way they should behind the curtain? It's alarming, it's concerning, and it's all the more reason for the NFL to find a way to stand up and start showing leadership. And look, Peter, even if they get permission from all of the states in which the NFL does business to gather at their team facilities, we go back to what we talked about in the last segment. What kind of message does that send when we are expecting millions of people to stay home, who to them, their jobs are essential? To them, they're thinking, why can't we get together for a meeting at our accounting firm or at our law firm or at our advertising firm or wherever? Why can't we have a meeting? The NFL's having their meeting. Their meeting's as important to them as our meeting is to us. So this is another example where the NFL has to take a step back and realize the same rules apply to everyone. And if the NFL acts like the rules are different for them, other people are going to say, well, why are we worried about these rules?
Yeah, that's why I think, Mike, as painful as it is, the NFL is probably going to have to very strongly consider having the head coach in his house, the general manager in his house, the scouts in their house, and they all be connected virtually. And I also think that that's one of the reasons why, right now, as the NFL looks at it, there's a 10-minute drafting window in the first round, 7 minutes in the second round, or second and third, right? And then 5 minutes in 4 through 7. Excuse me. And so at this point, I think one of the things that you look at, Mike, is the fact that I think they're going to have to look at expanding those windows. And I think particularly in the early rounds, when most teams really talk a lot, they talk trade a lot. I mean, the last time I was in a draft room for the weekend was 2017. And, the San Francisco 49ers made 19, they tried with 19 different teams to trade up into the first round. Good thing they didn't, because they were trying to trade up for Reuben Foster. but that is what so many teams do. So I've already heard from one team that, speaking, and I don't want to get too far off the topic because I know your point here, but I've already talked to one team that is thinking about assigning to different members of their organization. Like, okay, director of college scouting, you are going to have the following X number of teams that you are going to check in with. We're going to send out a note. Hey, if you want to talk, your first point of contact in our organization will be John Doe, our director of pro personnel. And then to 6 other teams, your first point of contact will be Jack Smith, our director of college scouting. So those are the kind of things that I believe at the end of the day are probably going to have to be done.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And it's that kind of creativity that the teams who get it, the teams who are accustomed to having great football operations, they're going to figure this out and they're going to be ready to go. But it will create more challenges. And I got no problem with more time between picks. What else are we doing? Right? I don't care if the first round is a little bit longer or rounds 2 and 3 take more. That's one of the reasons why they're going through with this. It's giving those of us who are adhering to the requirement to stay at home something we can, number one, look forward to, and number two, spend a lot of time following and watching on TV.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.